joining me for Where I'm From, number 63 with Rebecca. I'm calling from a different floor, uh, but what are you reading? I am reading Tell Me Everything by Erica Krauss, which had been highly recommended to me by numerous people I really respect, and they were like, "You have to read it, it's so good." Um, and I am, and they were right. And it's set in Boulder, Colorado, which many of you know I went to high school there. So it is of great interest to me, and I think we're having success, Rebecca. The little squares opened up. um, hey, you're sideways, but you're here.
I don't understand why I'm sideways and upside down. Hold on. Hold everything.
It's good to start with some levity, so that's good.
We love technology, don't we?
Here you are, right side up.
Hi,
Hi.
there you are. Am I still upside
No,
down?
you're right side up. You're right.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I mean, it's hard to tell these days.
Yes, it's not how you feel though, it's how you look. So you look right side up. I don't know how you feel,
Thank
but
you. Yeah,
hopefully also right side up.
sideways, but that's fine.
Sonia has been there. She has been there. Actually, quite a few people are sideways when they start because they want to put their phone sideways. Oh no. I think Rebecca, you're frozen. Is anybody else? Is, am I frozen for people or just Rebecca? Or is anybody seeing anything? Hmm. I have bars. Okay. Is anybody seeing anything? Sonia, will you say something in the chat? Am I frozen? Is Rebecca frozen? Are we both frozen? Is everything frozen? Hmm. Can't see Rebecca. Okay. Thank you. Maybe um, I don't know. Don't see Rebecca at all. Okay. I'm wondering if I should restart. You can see me. Okay. I don't know if hmm. Okay. Thank you everyone for your messages because it's sort of mysterious over here. I can't tell if I'm talking to myself or not, but I'm talking to you, which is lovely, but it would be even better if Rebecca were here. So I don't know if I should restart or okay, I'll try inviting Rebecca again. See if that helps. This plant is really excited to be a part of this conversation. Um, I'm trying to invite Rebecca. Okay, I'm going to give her another minute and I'm going to talk about this great book, which if you haven't read it, you should. Tell Me Everything by Erica Krauss. Um, she's a private investigator. She works on the what is now known Colorado recruitment scandal, which was when they, through Title IX, proved that there was not, that it was a rape culture at University of Colorado at Boulder, which there certainly was. And she talks about her experiences with the case and being a private investigator, but also her own personal experiences as a survivor. And something that was really interesting to me is that she talks about how she has a face that people tell secrets to. That's how she basically got into being a private investigator. Was she talked to this guy who was a lawyer, and he was like, "Oh, I just told you so much personal stuff. You should be a PI. Let me hire you." And I am also a person who people tell things to, which is why so many people recommended I read this book for numerous other reasons. And it was so good. Okay, Rebecca, you're back
We're
sideways,
walking,
but you're
we're
back.
walking, we're walking. I'm going to go someplace else in the house where I think there might be a better internet connection because
Yeah,
that is an unwelcome surprise.
yeah,
Okay.
it's a little bit tricky sometimes. I'm in a different room, house, etc.,
Yeah.
but I think I have internet. So,
Yeah.
okay,
Okay.
you're here. You persevered.
I'm here.
Uh, and I'm sure that really helped if you were having nerves, having that happen. I'm sure really helped with that.
Yeah. So, well,
I'm
I'm
kidding.
just going to say, as a former pastor, I
Mm-hmm.
never, ever trust technology.
Mm-hmm.
The times in a service when, something would blip or go out, and I'm like, of course, of course. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised.
I didn't know you were a former pastor.
Yes. Yep. Lutheran pastor for 14
Oh,
years.
wow. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Um,
it was.
yes, it doesn't bother me, the technical problems at this point. It's sort of just the way it works, and eventually it all evens out and we
Yeah.
get here and it works. But yeah, I know for some people, they worry that it's them, and, they internalize that, and
Hmm.
it's not. It's not them.
No, it's like this little thing, little bug on my shoulder going, I'm gonna get you. I'm like, I know, I know, I know. We'll work through it.
Yeah, that's a good attitude.
Yeah.
Um, well, did you want to talk or say anything, or you just want to launch into it, or how do you like to do it? It's your choice.
Um, Let me just launch in and again hope that the gods of the interwebs. Hey Angie, hi Queenie. um, yeah,
This
let
seems
me
like
just
a
jump
better
in.
spot. I think this is
This
promising wherever you move to.
momentarily, yes, we'll go with this.
Okay.
All right, where I'm from. I'm from the summer weekly reader and bookshelves of books, Harvard Classics and Mishner, Earl Stanley Gardner and Louis L'Amour. I'm from Pond's cold cream and Dreft detergent, from the split level ranch in Kansas and the 100-year-old farmhouse in Ohio, the Swedish apartment with the small sweet balcony where snow fell, and the place in Mexico with shards of glass on the roof, and the smell of warm bread coming from the bakery down the quiet calle. From wide grassy lawns alight with fireflies, and dark murky ponds where the bullfrogs sing. From old grandmother mountains and summers by the Gulf. I'm from boxer dogs and horses and tack rooms perfumed with leather. From gardenias, milky and smooth, pinned to the collar of my pale yellow Easter dress. And lily of the valley rioting in the cool shade. And voluptuous lilacs heavy with rain. I'm from big boozy dinner parties where I got to pass the bowls of Spanish peanuts and stay up late. And I'm from a line of Southern cooks going back as far as your eye can see. And from Benson and Hedges 100s and Scotch and soda, mud in your eye. Virginia Lee, the tiny steel magnolia, funny and fierce, she whom I both loved and feared. And Walter Cooper, the CEO, cruising in his big black Bentley in faded jeans and a worn t-shirt, with him my place of safety. I'm from Sunday pork roast, redolent with garlic and crowded knotty pine kitchens. From white hot anger and teeth clenching worry and fall down laughing water fights. From I'll give you something to cry about and your mama loves you so much. I'm from Methodist, Presbyterian, panentheistic, agnosticism, and I'm Kentucky born and bred, English, Scots Irish, and Belgian, French, German, and I'm from country ham and greasy beans and crepe Suzettes at midnight. And I'm from the day I saw the empty place where my mother's breast once was, the jagged stitches making a line between before and after and all that would come. Thank you.
How beautiful and how full of so many evocative places and things and moments. And I haven't read it before. Usually I read it before, but I didn't get to read yours before. So this is my first experience of it. So much of it felt familiar. You know, so much of it. Even though I find it interesting doing this as many times as I have, even things I didn't live feel familiar, which is not something I maybe knew before I did this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's interesting how it works.
Yeah.
So what was it like for you writing it?
Oh my gosh. Well, I started really, of course, I started thinking about it the minute you extended the invitation. And then I was like, that's a lot. Let's put it over here for a minute. And because I mean, the truth is, by the time that you're 70, which I am, you're from a lot.
Mm-hmm.
um, or the long view is a lot, is interesting. So yeah, I just went over and over, and it was like dropping down into all these memory files, and then just spending time in some places I hadn't been for a while. Like really last night was when I added the bullfrogs, because like, oh yeah, they used to sing me to sleep every night, and in the spring and summer. So
I love that sound.
yeah, I do too.
Yeah. And I never have lived anywhere where I hear it regularly, but I've heard it throughout my life. And whenever I hear it, it is very settling. It's like breathing, and you have someone to sort of breathe with, that
Yeah,
feeling.
yeah, that's a good description. It is. Yeah, it's very comforting.
Yeah. I've always appreciated places or sounds or smells that help me feel like I'm a part of something,
Hmm.
which we're surrounded by those kinds of things. But as I grow older, I think I'm more aware of them,
Yeah.
and they help. So, um, and so taking the long view, did you feel like you were a certain age, or were you sort of trying to cover more territory?
I really covered early memories up to about when I was 10 or 11. That's about when my mother had her first breast cancer. And it really did feel like a dividing line
Mhm.
between, a certain kind of innocence, the end of, um, and at that age, I didn't really understand. And of course, it was the 60s. So, it was like a secret.
Mhm.
Um, and there was shame around it, I think, because in the 60s and something to do with the woman's body. And
Mhm.
um, so I picked all that up from my mom, although she just like soldiered ahead. She
Sure.
was, like I said, fierce. Um, but I think, from that time on, the realization that something bad could visit the family. Um,
Mm-hmm. So did that feel sort of like the end of your childhood when that happened?
um,
Or
in
do
a
you just the
way,
end of
yeah.
innocence?
I
Or
think I think the end of a certain sense of, that circle of the family, even in, dysfunctional families, you still understand it and know it.
Mhm.
Um, and and so I think that was the beginning of unexpected things can be visited upon you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of astounded when I have friends, even my age, who haven't had that really yet, that moment. It's like, oh wow, you've made it a long time.
Yeah,
Good for you.
yeah, lucky you. Yeah,
Yeah, but
definitely.
then I think when it happens, it is really, really earth shattering
Yeah,
or foundation shaking
yeah,
because it feels
it,
like not right.
yeah. I think it rocks the world, and
Mhm.
because we're communal beings, I think also we think about, was it my fault? Should I have done this? All of those kinds of things. Um, yeah, it's a web. It doesn't. It happens mainly to one person, but it happens to a web too, to family and
Yes.
friends, and
I think especially, at least for me as a
so
child, I wondered if I could have done something different but I know that my parents felt that way
yeah,
too. It is just human nature, I guess. But
yeah.
um so Benson and Hedges, those and the
That was my mom with
having the
those
peanuts,
long.
yeah, and getting to stay up late and all that sort of um did you find yourself eavesdropping as a person who's turned into a writer?
Always, always,
Yeah.
always. Well, I love to circulate and examine these people who were busy, yik yakking and pouring back the scotch and pat me on the head. But man, I'm listening to everything. And I distinctly remember one party in the summer, and I looked out. So it was our farm in Ohio, and there's a big corn crib. And inside the corn crib, which was empty because we didn't necessarily farm, was a man and a woman kissing, and they weren't married to each other. And I knew that. So that was interesting. And I'm
Yeah.
like, file that away. And then our house was, we had a giant furnace in the basement, but it was gravity heat, right? So, there weren't any ducts or anything, but there was just these openings, grates in the floor, and my little ear would be down there, and I would listen to the jokes and the gossip, and oh yeah, rich
Yeah.
environment.
Hmm. Yeah, I stayed up. I was definitely before there was such a thing as FOMO. I was definitely did not like to go to sleep if there were
Yeah,
things happening, and I still reckon with that as a grown up. Like it's time to go to sleep now.
same.
It's a good time to go to sleep. You should do that.
I
But
know.
there's something happening, and I want to know what it is.
I know
Um,
my iPhone has this sweet app that I can, it can tell me when to go to bed, but I would just tell it like, yeah, it's fun. You just do that.
yeah.
Like you said, there's something happening. I can't
Hmm.
stand to miss it. So I'm still
That
a
seems
night owl.
sensible. I'm not really interested in that
No, no.
right now. Um, and I don't have the poem in front of me, so I'm trying to go on recall. Did you? There was so much. So you had a house in Mexico. What was the part with the glass on the roof and the calle and?
So my dad was in between jobs and he took two consulting jobs. One was in Gothenburg, Sweden,
Mm.
and we lived there for 9 months. And then from there, we went to Mexico City. So he had a second job there. And it was like early 1960s when it was just not a very safe time. And so all
Mm.
the houses, we were in an apartment, but you could go upstairs to the roof, and all the houses had like cement that
Mhm.
they'd stuck broken glass into to keep people from climbing up the roof and coming down
Mhm.
into the
That's
apartment.
a contrast to Gothenburg. That's like a real.
180 degrees.
Yes.
Yeah, I used to there right we lived our apartment was next to this, it was almost like Central Park in the middle of Gothenburg,
Mhm.
and um I used to walk by myself through that park at night and go down and get hot chocolate and go to the newsstand and buy an Archie comic book in English. And
Mhm.
it just, nobody was afraid.
Mhm.
Um, and to come from there where my parents literally, that bakery down the street, I never went. I wasn't allowed to go around by myself because children of American executives were targets.
I mean, they still are. Income
Yeah,
inequality is a very motivating factor
yeah,
to do
yeah.
things that we
There's
know aren't.
so much poverty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
so much poverty.
tragic. Yeah, but they
Yeah,
still are.
yeah.
Um, so, any other thoughts or like I'm particularly fascinated by taking the long view and what stood out to you because it's something that I've talked about a little with different people here, how as you grow older, even, 40s, 50s, like you don't really talk about your childhood in the same way that it once was
Right.
defining, like
Yeah.
where I'm from, where I grew up, and I do feel like I carry it with me. It's with me, whether I talk about it or not. And I mean, like, were you
I
surprised at all by the things that you pulled out, or did it seem like very what you would expect?
I tried to stay away from the script
Oh
that we
yeah.
sort of tell. I grew up da
Mm-hmm.
da da,
Mm-hmm.
and I appreciate the exercise because it invites you into some sensory
Yeah.
details, um, and that put me back in the moments. And what I felt
Mm-hmm.
was kind of a sadness that the things that I have forgotten to remember. Um, and as a writer and a creative nonfiction writer in particular, I know I spend a lot of time in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I feel like these were some places I hadn't been for a while, and it was really nice. I sort of made a promise to myself maybe to just do that more often.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and
I
it,
think you can do it from different places, right?
yeah,
This
yeah.
I've thought about it and have not done it. But my birthday's coming up, so maybe I'll that's always a good time for contemplation. So maybe
When is
I'll
your birthday,
do it.
Allie?
Oh, it's not that soon. It's January 28th. But it's like
It's
it's one
coming
of
up.
those
Yeah,
things where I call myself that age for months, like to prepare myself, that I
yeah.
forget that I am not that age. That's how much I like to prepare. So when it's my actual birthday, I have to remember I'm turning that age, not the next one. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think also with the holidays, I think it's a Kabbalah thing that you like the 60 days before your birthday. I'm sure it's in a ton of other thoughts as well, because I find that the more I learn about different philosophies and religion, there's a lot of overlap with the
Yeah.
different, um, that you spend some of that time contemplating the year that has passed and the year to come and your mortality and your space and
Yeah.
your place. And um, I have found that to be true in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Uh,
And I think also I just became a grandmother.
oh,
Um,
congratulations. What a
Thank
wonderful
you,
thing.
Virginia June Kerr. She's adorable and wonderful and perfect. And she was born in September, but that's another sort of lens to put into that long view.
Absolutely.
And I'm thinking a lot about my grandmother and wondering if she rocked me and sang to me the way I am to June. Because I don't, as an infant, you don't remember, but I was very close with her. And I'm just wondering, as I'm rocking her, about this line of succession of grandmothers and babies.
I mean,
It's nice to contemplate.
it is a nice thing to contemplate. Thank you, Casey. Casey said a lovely thing in the comments. I
Thank you,
think,
Casey.
yeah, it feels like for me, and I'm not a grandparent. My children are too young, and I don't know that I ever will be. But if I am, even just being a parent really has changed my perspective on childhood,
Right,
and
right,
just I don't know if changed my perspective. It's given me a lot more grace around myself and around my parents, and
right.
but also for I think the biggest thing for me has been I was so small. I was so young. I felt
Mm-hmm.
incredibly grown up, like we're talking about with the parties and the serving and I and people told me how grown up I was, and I just believed them. Oh yeah, I'm absolutely grown up. I'm 10 or 9 and now I look at my
Right.
children, it's like, oh, I was um, very small.
Yeah.
And I hope that I get the opportunity to be a grandparent, because when you're a parent, when you have a baby, it's difficult to really breathe it in because you're just like um, sinking.
Right. Really. Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
really,
because
it's a
everything, and
lot.
I think my daughter Maggie is on this, and she'll attest that. I mean, it's like everything is on your shoulders,
Yes,
and it is
yes.
exhausting, and it's kind of scary and confusing, and
In a way you
beautiful and
can't
wonderful,
prepare.
and all of the above. Yeah,
You
how
can't
could you?
study
Yeah,
for it. Like
no,
it shows up, and it is in this child. I mean, and for me, I had my children at home, so they left, and here they are. Like I went from not being a parent to being a
yeah,
parent in a very short amount of time, and everyone, and so I would like to have the experience of being a grandparent. I think it's a gift if it happens, because you can sort of breathe it in a different way, and um,
for me,
uh,
it's been like walking into a room I didn't even know was there.
mm, yeah.
It's like opening the door, and it's like, what is this wonder? I didn't even know.
That's wonderful. I love
Yeah.
kids, so I believe that. I love them.
Yeah.
They're the greatest. Well, congratulations, Rebecca. That's really,
Thank
I'm
you.
tearing up over here.
Thank you. Yeah. It's pretty wonderful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Virginia, what a sweet name. It makes me think of like my mom's peers who went by Ginny, but
Yeah. That is my mom's
oh, it
name.
isn't. Oh, there you
Um,
go.
so yeah, Virginia June, and they're calling her June.
June, I
And of
love
course it's June bug. And I'm waiting
it.
because we're in the South for Jeannie June. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's joyful.
yeah.
Is that your daughter?
Yes.
That, yes.
That's Maggie. Hi, Maggie.
Well, congratulations, Maggie. I hope that you're taking care of yourself too. That's the
Yeah.
hardest part.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, because society doesn't do a lot of that, telling you, "Hey, go take a nap." But I'm saying that go take a nap
Yeah.
if you can,
Good
because
advice. That's good advice for
it's a
everybody.
long journey. It's the best, but it's definitely an adjustment. And take care of yourself. And to any mothers out there, if you're feeling sad, get help because it's real.
It's lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it being really lonely,
Mm-hmm.
in the midst of all the joy. you're sort of surprised at this sense of why do I feel isolated and alone? There's this
Mhm.
wonderful thing that has happened. And, both are true.
Yes, both are true. And I think some of my friends who struggled with fertility, they felt even guiltier for those feelings
Yeah.
because for so long they had wanted to have a child and it's what they really wanted. And then they felt like, well, I should be more grateful. And it's like, well, you are grateful.
Right. Yeah.
Just because you're feeling other things doesn't mean you're not
I
grateful.
know.
So,
We're allowed more than one feeling at a
right.
time.
I don't know. It's complicated as women and mothers. I think we're just supposed to be, yay, all the time.
I
It's just like,
know.
and I feel like I'm meeting more than a decent amount of people. And still, it's, you got to be real about it. Um,
Yep.
or else you end up saying things like, I'll give you something to cry about.
I know. Right. I know. I
Yeah,
know.
I
And
don't.
that, yeah.
And that was such a popular thing to say for a very long time. That was not something I was
Yeah.
told, but it was in the ether. It was around. It was in the air,
She would say it and then she would do it. So
Yeah,
it's just like,
yeah.
those weren't empty
I
threats.
don't think
And
people who said it generally said it without follow through, because
yeah,
otherwise it wouldn't really have the same punch.
I know.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Um, so I think that's also like, obviously I want parents to take care of themselves because they deserve to be taken care of. But I also think it makes us better parents.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that's what I always have said to any mother friend who says, well, I'm going to do this. What do you think? What makes you happy? I think you should do that thing because it'll make you a better mother, whatever that
Yeah.
is.
And you're still a person. I think that's always the challenge is,
Right.
you don't stop being
Mhm.
fully you.
Right.
Even though I think we still get that message.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if your daughter's on Instagram at all, there sure is a lot of pressure of these ladies, these mom Instagrammers. I'm like, no,
I know.
no, thank you.
Yeah, bless your heart.
That's very cute. No. Um, Anything else, Rebecca? This is just enjoyable conversation, but did you want to say anything
Yeah.
else about this or this experience? Or I agree with you, the sensory details are so important to unlocking these
Yeah. Well,
more
I
untrodden ways of remembering,
right.
like the less part of the story, like
It's
you
a
said.
really great prompt, I think.
It
And
is.
if I would have just sat down to write, I think I'm just going to write about where I'm from. I wouldn't have gotten where I got.
Mm,
I don't
for
think.
sure.
Um, and so I encourage anybody who's thinking about it to get in touch with Allison and do
Yes,
it
please.
because I'm going to hang on to this poem and I'm going to read it from time to time. And I'm also a memoirist, and so this is not a bad exercise, just in general principles. But yeah, it's really lovely that you've created this space, and thank you for that. And
It's my joy.
yeah,
I mean, I love it so much. It's appointment talking to somebody about things that are meaningful. So
yeah, and I love
that's
listening. So they're just, that's the other thing of people who are tuning in and maybe don't know about this to go back and look through the archives because it's just really wonderful way to spend some time with some cool people
thank you.
who
And
are
yes, you're number
writing about some cool stuff.
63. Yeah,
Woohoo!
I wanted to say something. Oh, so one other question. Were you nervous at all? Because some people, I approach them and say, hey, you should join me. And they're like, I don't know if I'm up to like the level of, poets. I'm like, of course you are.
I was really nervous about
Yeah.
it. And
And you
I
wrote a
mean,
beautiful poem.
thank you. But there's a nakedness to reading in
Yeah.
front of people and then,
Yeah.
to putting it out there
Hmm.
into the interwebs but it's like, I mean, this is the call for us to do anyway. So
Well, thank you so much for joining me. This was such a
yeah,
pleasure, and
thank
congratulations on being a
you.
grandmother, and
Thank
congratulations,
you.
Maggie, on being a mother. Um,
And
and